Today is Wednesday, March the 4th, 2026. This is Jim Dandy, exposing medical myths one at a time. This one is Germs Are Not the Cause of Disease, and it's by yours truly, Jim Dandy. Made this about 20 years ago. It's only 19 minutes long, so take a listen. You can use this in your own arguments.
Good morning. My name is Jim O'Kelly. I am a self-certified healthologist. I think I coined that term about 25 or 30 years ago. I thought it was a common term, healthologist, study of health. Made sense to me. But looked it up some years ago, and guess what? It's not even in the dictionary. And I thought, well, why? We study pathology, the study of disease. We don't study health. This is why the medical profession has never gotten anywhere in this world. They study disease and not health. So, what we want to talk about today, the question is, are germs the cause of disease? Because they say that germs are everywhere. They're in the water, they're in food, they're in the air, they're on telephones, they're on your toilet, they're in all your money that you handle every day. There's no germ-free zone on God's green earth. And the medical profession says that these germs can make a healthy person sick. Really. So you can be healthy right now, and them germs will come along, and they will attack you. They will do something inside of you, and you're going to become sick. These germs, they fly up your nose, they jump in your mouth, they swim and survive in the hydrochloric acid of your stomach. They're just tough guys, they're invincible, they mutate, they deceive, they plan, they're attacked, and you die. You know what? I'd say that's a real good accomplishment for a life form that has no legs, no feet, no brain, and can't think. And by the way, they don't survive real well in air or sunlight either. So how do we protect ourselves from these horrible bugs that are everywhere? What defense could our poor bodies have against these non-flying, non-thinking bugs? What's funny? Just a passing thought. When they had the flu, it came from Hong Kong. Or they have the Asian flu. These germs get bored over there in their countries and they come all the way over here to America just to attack us. They don't like us. I mean, how come we never have the California flu or the Chicago flu? That'll make you a little suspicious just thinking about that kind of stuff. So if germs really can take you down when you're healthy and when you're sick, when you're healthy and make you sick, here's the question. Why aren't you sick right now? Why aren't you sick this very moment? Well, why not? I know most people have not thought about this before. Like when you have a cold, you always notice a few people who have it. You never notice the vast majority who don't have it. It's like you could become your own scientist, you just through observation. That's what these people do and make conclusions. Next time you go into a grocery store, take a head count. How many people have the flu or the cold? How many don't? Any crowded area that you're in, take a look around you. The vast majority of people never have it. It's only the minority. If germs caused it, everybody would have it, wouldn't they? That's just common sense. So again, if these germs could really make a healthy person sick, again, why are you sick with some germ-catching disease right this very minute? Well, the answer is clear when you think about it. Germs have never, are not now, or will ever be the cause of your cold or disease. And I know you're saying, well, Jim, what is the cause then? when I make this profound challenge to people, here's what they say. Jim, you know why I'm not sick? Because I take a lot of vitamins. And you know why I'm not sick? Because I eat good food, I eat right. And you know why I'm not sick? Because I exercise. My immune system is strong. Bingo! Now the light goes on. If the germ can't break through a strong immune system, then the germ isn't the cause, is it? If that were the case, it wouldn't matter if the immune system was strong or weak. You know, not to mention, if the system was weak, then the nasty germs could come in and finish the job, couldn't they? So you see, folks, the real cause is the lowered immune system, isn't it? A weak body is the cause. So what weakened the body? What lowered the immune system? That is the question. Well, people who smoke know what weakens their lungs, don't they? People who drink alcohol in excess understand what liver disease is all about, don't they? Vitamin and mineral deficient food, could that be a cause? How about a lack of or no exercise? How about stress? And actually stress, a little stress is good for you because it makes you motivated to solve your problems. But distress, where you have a lot of really heavy problems, can that cause you to be sick? And you know, what about all these people on medications? They're the ones who get the flu and all these sicknesses to begin with anyway. And you know, when you think about it, they're on medications or drugs because they got a problem to begin with. Their system was bad to begin with, and it certainly wasn't by any germs, was it? And how about vaccines? Making these children have a weak immune system. And so the bottom line is a weak system from poor habits of our own choosing in many cases. So in different words, in reality, what the people are saying, many without even thinking about it, is that the cause of the disease is the weak immune system and not the poor little bugs. So now, while that makes sense to you, let's bring in one other point. What about emotionally induced illness? What about the problems that many people suffer? They lose a job. They lose a wife or a husband. They've got a kid that's gone wrong, gone crazy, gone bonkers, and driving them crazy. How about all the unhappy marriages that are tolerated, but really miserable? How about the jobs that are held, but they're hated? You think any of these things could be a problem? You know, if you get sick, if you have chronic problems, you first of all should look into the problems you may be having yourself that you really can't deal with, even though you think you can. And if you find that problem, you found the cause, and then you can find the cure. And if it isn't that way, if it isn't emotional, if you're a perfectly happy, adjusted individual, which there aren't too many of us, by the way, I don't think, then you need to look at your habits, your eating habits, smoking, drinking, no exercise, wrong foods, all of those, because you'll find the answer right there, won't you? So the bottom line is, if germs were the cause of disease, we would all have one disease or another. You know, the human race could never have existed in the first place, could it? I'm going to give you a few words of wisdom from some of the people who can reinforce what I've just said and explain it probably in a much better way than I can. Okay, listen to this medical doctor, Alonzo Shadman. He wrote a book called Who is Your Doctor and Why, 1971. Very good book. But here's what he said on page 17. Germs are not the cause, but the result of disease. What conclusion could any thinking, intelligent person draw? Consequently, my fear of germs, contagious infection, left me free of fear, left me with a clear mind to investigate and discover the real cause of man's illness. It took many years of study and actual experience to jolt the erroneous ideas from my head. Today, instead of fearing germs, I fear the morbid conditions which feed them. And here is what E.W. Cardinally, naturopathic doctor, says in his book, Principles and Practices of Naturopathy. For centuries, mankind has been searching for the cause of disease. Pathologists have advanced one theory after another, only to see each give way and weaken. At present, medical doctors are almost universally working on the germ theory of disease. But the germ theory is already weakening and is due for being thrown aside. Dr. Fraser of Canada and Dr. Powell of California have experimented with billions of germs of all varieties, but they have been unable to produce a single disease by the introduction of germs into human subjects. Dr. Waite tried for years to prove the germ theory, but he could not do so. During the World War, an experiment was conducted at Gallops Island, Massachusetts, in which millions of influenza germs were injected into over 100 men at the government hospital, and no one became ill with the disease. And go back to my quote now in the Unstoppables about the influenza experiment. That may be the same one he's talking about, I'm not sure. But he says Dr. Fraser found that in many cases of diphtheria and other diseases, the germs did not appear at the outset of the disease, and in some patients the germs did not make their appearance at all. So what then is the purpose of germs? Germs are scavengers. When you see flies swarming around a garbage can, you don't say that the flies brought the garbage, but that the garbage attracted the flies. The case is the same with germs. The fermentation of poisonous acids and alkalides in the human system attract germs because they feed upon it. The nature of the toxin and its localization determine the character of the disease. When an epidemic breaks out, there has been a considerable number of people in a locality who have eaten the same kind of food, lived under similar conditions, been subjected to the same climatic and atmospheric changes. And these factors have brought about an identical fermentation of toxins in the bodies of such persons and manifest the same group of symptoms. That is why we have epidemics. In the final analysis, all disease is the result of morbid encumbrances in the system due to wrong habits of eating, sleeping, working, etc. And here is what P.L. Clark, medical doctor, said in 1928 in his book on How to Live and Eat for Health. There is no question as to the presence of bacteria in the blood, tissues, or organs of man or animals suffering from certain specific diseases, but the question scientific men have always asked is, are these germs the accompaniment of the disease, or are they the cause of the disease condition? It is reasonable to assume that maggots found in the manure pile cause the manure pile, as it is to assume that the germs found in a filthy body, poisoned with food, drugs, and bad habits, cause the condition of ill health. Germs are the result of disease, not its cause. Germs are now known to be around and in us and abound at every hand, and many, of course, are unable to live in the fluids of the body. For were it otherwise, man would have long ago become extinct. Just as maggots and flies require the filth of the manure pile in which they grow and propagate, so the human organism must become broken down and filthy through bad habits of living before the tissues and juices of the body will permit the harboring and growth of any noxious bacteria. Germs really are our best friends. Even when the body becomes foul with retained poisons of metabolism and the absorbed poisons of fermenting and rotting starches and proteins, the germs are our best friends. A putrid wound has putrefactive fermentation up in it so that the putrefying foul flesh may be liquefied, sloughed off, and carried away in liquid form as pus. This foul dead tissue is rapidly disintegrated by those friendly germs so that with proper draining, the filth may be washed away and drained out of the wound until the healthy tissue is reached when the germs of putrefaction can no longer live and disappear. And he says germs cannot live long in sunlight and air. All scientific research conclusively proves my pronouncement that acidosis and toxicosis are the two basic causes of all disease. And he concludes with, it is only when the body becomes foul that filth and rotting fermenting products are attacked by this valiant army in the attempt to liquefy and carry out of the body the poisonous material, which, if not released, will cause the dissolution of the body. With the filth go the germs. The alley is free from manure piles, is free from the maggots and the flies. And finally, one of the great thinkers, Heward Carrington, in his book, Vitality, Fasting, and Nutrition, and he says, in each of the various germ diseases, there is undoubtedly present a particular germ. And that these germs are actually present, I do not for one moment deny. That would be merely a denial of an obvious fact. But the point I wish to make is this. that their presence within the system on such occasions is not the cause of the disease, but merely one of its accompaniments. They are not that which causes the disease state, they merely happen to be present during a state. In short, they are not casual, but coincidental. It need hardly be pointed out that if germs were the causes of disease, they must always be present in the organism before the disease they occasion appears, yet such is by no means the case. It is a well-known fact that any germs must have, before they can successfully propagate and thrive, a suitable soil in which this can take place. And unless such suitable soil is present, germs can never live, nor can they propagate. It would be an utter impossibility. Now, what constitutes this soil? Favorable for their growth and perpetration? Most certainly it is the presence in that locality of their suitable food. For germs, no more than other living thing, be it a roach, bird, camel, or man, most assuredly will not and cannot voluntarily establish themselves in a locality in which there is no suitable food. Such would be against all reason, and is in truth opposed to the actual facts. Now the great point is this: so long as the body is sound and healthy, this food material is entirely lacking. There is none of it in the system upon which the germs can feed. No soil in which they can by any chance flourish, and consequently their growth and presence within the organism is rendered possible only by ill health. And so long as good health, a normal standard is maintained, no germs on earth, nor in the air or water, can possibly harm the body, for the very reason that did they gain access to it, it would be instantly killed or die from sheer lack of food. We are beyond doubt breathing, eating, and drinking germs. Germs of consumption, of diphtheria, of typhoid, of cholera, all the time. We cannot possibly keep them out of any system. The most healthy body doubtless contains the germs of the above-mentioned diseases, for we eat, drink, and breathe them constantly. Why then do we not all have these diseases? Simply because there is no suitable soil in our bodies in which they can flourish, no food material upon which they can sustain themselves. And that is the sole and only reason why we do not all have these diseases, and others supposedly caused by germs. The great principle, the grand truth, is that so long as the body is kept sound and vigorous, germ diseases of any sort, no less than any others, become impossible. The body is rendered totally immune. For consider, upon what sort of character of food do these germs live and thrive? Is it upon healthy tissue? Most certainly it is not and cannot be. For if it were, we should all be the victims of one or more germ diseases, and there would be no possible help for us. Health would then be no guarantee of immunity. No, germs cannot thrive in a healthy soil. A certain predisposition must be present in order to render their growth possible. Impure material in the body must be the food of such germs. Since we have just seen that healthy tissue is not and cannot be their food, and it is only the presence of this effete, retained gross material which renders their growth possible, since it is their food, and without their suitable food, life for them would be impossible. And he finishes by saying, and from this we are led to the following important definition of germ diseases as, not a disease caused by the presence of a specific germ, but as that condition of the organism which renders possible the growth within it of that particular germ. It must always be remembered that microbes are scavengers attacking only impurities in the system. End of quote. And you need to realize, listener, that they're not saying the germs come in when the system is weak and do their dirty work. A lot of people think that this is what's going on. It's not. The germs are coming in simply as your friend, your scavenger, to clean out the poison and the retained waste and the dead, rotten materials. So, you should understand by now exactly what's going on, and germ is never would be a cause of anything. And when you understand this, you can take this argument to other people. You can convert them, because when people understand germs are not the cause, but the result of disease, they're going to save a lot of money. Number one, they're not going to buy these hand sanitizers and antibacterial crap that's sold on TV and radio and magazines. They're not going to fear being around the crowd. They're not going to worry about taking their baby somewhere, like many young mothers today have been brainwashed to do. They're not going to go to the doctor when they have a cold, because you understand we have an elimination process going on. You don't have to worry about a germ. So it'll set you free from the propaganda and the lies and things that they inject into your minds in order to inject their drugs and vaccines into your body. So take this information with you and educate as many as you can, and we'll put a stop to this nonsense soon. Thank you very much for listening. This is Jim O'Kelly, your healthologist, signing off.
You can get my book on Amazon. Either one of those titles, it's the same book, just different titles. This is Jim Dandy, exposing medical myths one at a time. I will see you on the next video.